Well, greetings to you all, friends. My name is Chaplain Matt Dinkins, and I serve as chaplain at Matthews Glen. I want to think a moment today about our baptism and what that continues to mean in our lives. I want to begin with a story of a young man named Kyle that comes from a pastor named Roger Nishioka. And Roger shares this story about Kyle, who was a member at his church. Kyle, and in the tradition that this church was a part of, uh, had baptism and then confirmation classes. That may be something you're familiar with in your own tradition. He was fairly young. He was in fifth grade when he went through his confirmation class. And Roger shares the story of how Kyle was very involved, very engaged in confirmation, uh, really enjoyed it, participated in every piece of it that he could. They had a special Sunday. It was on Pentecost Sunday at their church where that all the uh, kids that were in the confirmation class received baptism. And then Roger said, just like that, Kyle stopped coming to church. He and his family stopped coming to church. And it upset him some. He didn't really understand why because, again, Kyle was so involved, he was so plugged in, and then just like that, he was gone. And so Kyle reached out to his parents, and in all honesty, they just did not realize that there was a need to continue to come to church. I think they weren't quite as involved as maybe some other folks in that congregation were, and they just did not know that there was a need for a continuation that they needed to keep coming. They thought, well, he's confirmed, he's baptized, he's good. So it was an honest, just misunderstanding, an honest misunderstanding for them. And I think about that in our own baptisms. I wonder if sometimes we treat our own baptism like that, where it was this great special event in our lives to really show to others our faith, our belief in Jesus, our desire to follow Jesus. But we get to a point in our lives where our ministry and our continuation of following Jesus comes to a halt. I want to think about Jesus' own baptism for a moment. I want to share the scripture from Matthew 3 with you. It says, Then Jesus came from Galilee to John at the Jordan to be baptized by him. John would have prevented him, saying, I need to be baptized by you, and do you come to me? But Jesus answered him, Let it be so now, for it is proper for us in this way to fulfill all righteousness. So we all know Jesus didn't have to be baptized. I mean, it was not something that was required, especially for him, the Son of God, who was perfect. But he wanted to be. He wanted to identify with humanity because he was human. He wanted to show the importance of this sacred ritual that's so important to so many of our traditions, mine included. I'm Baptist. And so he went forward with it. And Matthew describes it in a way that shows it was the beginning of his ministry. This was something he participated in at the beginning. It was not at the end. You know, Matthew chapter 3, and there's 28 chapters total in Matthew. This was at the beginning, not the end. I think that's important to remember when we think about our own baptism. That wasn't the end of our journey with Jesus, but it was the beginning. It's implied that it's something that continues, and it's a journey, and it's something we always work on, we always practice. And so, as we begin a new year, and we think about the life of Jesus, I think this baptism piece in his life is really important to consider in his life and in our lives. So I invite you to do that in this time. And I wish you all a blessed day and a blessed new year.